What up, YouTube? So I gotta redo this damn video. I took the meat out earlier to check on it, and it had this really thin white line of really tiny bubbles around it. So I gave it a shake, and I shook it several times. The bubbles are looking like that, but then when I shook it up, it formed this foam on the top. And the airlock I'm using is a black party balloon that's been wrapped and held in place by a ponytail holder that's wrapped twice. The cap was on there nice and tight. Now the yeast I'm using to make this homemade mead was sent to me by my YouTube fans. It is Lavin EC1118. And one packet will do it, man, for this big old gallon of fruit punch. You see the foam starting to form on right there. That's what the bubbles basically looked like before I gave it a shake, minus the stuff in the middle. But the airlock, this is as inflated as it goes. I gave it a shake and you can see the balloons inflating. I'm going to leave the airlock on there until it deflates by itself. I'm going to keep checking on it to make sure the fruit don't get moldy in it, because there is strawberry and banana in there. But yeah, I gave it a shake. 1 second, I'll just shake it up real quick. Pick it up with both hands and really get in there. Stir it around town. Show you how I did that. Once you get the tripod figured out for the phone, I might look into using that. But it had this rich, just amazing looking foam after you shook it. Just like that. Just a quick little stir. Now with this mead, I made it on the 21st of September. It's now like 2 days later. Some Google articles suggest that the mead could be done in like 2 to 3 days. However, YouTube, I'm going to wait a little bit longer than that, just to make sure it really does the trick. You should have seen the foam when it first formed. It was all like really pretty, like wine red. But it had more of like a strawberry red hue to it. But the balloon right here is inflating with the yeast in there. This yeast has a low pressure buildup. Now when you add, you can use pretty much any yeast you want almost to make a homemade alcohol. But this one is specifically designed for making wine, and it could make it 18% alcohol by volume. And every time I've made mead, it's always formed that foam kind of thing. So after the bubbles stop forming and that balloon kind of starts to deflate by itself, we'll let it age for like 4 to 5 more days after that. Once the bubbles stop forming and the balloon goes down by itself, then we'll transfer it to a new bottle. But that's the color of the mead. You can see the bananas and strawberries on top of that foam. And if we lift up the undercarriage, that's where all the sugar and honey is. Right there. Big old 1 gallon jug of homemade hooch. Look at that. That's beautiful. That's just beautiful, YouTube. I'm liking the way that's turning out. I've been doing my homework and what to look for when you're using that particular yeast to make it. And it's been doing it, man. Like the foam, when I first poured the yeast in there, formed a rich, like almost strawberry red wine foam color to it, you know. And I've been letting it just sit in the dark closet and do its thing. The closet's a little bit chillier than it is out here. But, and there's no light in the closet either, so it just chills out in the cold and the dark. letting it ferment, do its thing. I am going to be watching it like a hawk because I don't want that fruit to get, if that fruit starts to get ill, you know what I'm saying? We don't want it to get moldy. Nope. Try to take the label off, but it didn't want to come off, so it's fine the way it is. I left the label on the clean bottle. Now you can see my airlock, the ghetto ass redneck airlock, is inflating. It has a low inflation point. The instant yeast that I used to make these kinds of beverages when I first did it, that balloon would inflate like crazy, dude. But because this has like a low pressure point, this is great for making homemade wines and meads. But the fans have been asking about the homemade alcohol, so here it is. Give you a little 360. There you can see the honey and the sugar at the bottom and all that yeast and fruit. Because the fruit punch only has 3% juice, that's why I added the puree with the strawberry and the banana and the actual fruit and the honey and sugar. So it'll increase the juice content and really give that yeast something to feast on. But so far I'm not complaining. This looks really fucking good. I gave it a shake earlier and that foam got pretty thick. But prior to shaking it, it had these thin little white bubbles just like that all the way around the outside. And I gave it a shake. Just like that. Well, it's not foaming up like it did earlier when I took it. And I'm redoing the video because I messed up on it, but that's alright. Let that keep aging and doing its thing. But yeah, it formed like this really thick, almost like strawberry red wine color over the top of it. And then when that died down, it formed this yellow and strawberry red foam. And then when that died down, it's got these little bubbles around the outside, just like that. Not sure how it's going to turn out, but we'll see. The airlock's staying in place. I can sit here and give it a little squeeze to kind of go like that a little bit. Yeah. Got a ponytail holder holding it down, wrapped twice around the balloon. The lid is on there tight, dirtier than a nun's cunt. So we'll see how it turns out. But yeah, YouTube, this is my strawberry banana mead. 2 days after fermenting it with the yeast and mead ingredients. Now, where do I keep it? Like I've been keeping all the other ones that I make. In a place where you can, hold on, I'm gonna put it back up, put this up too. I'll give it another shake, YouTube. Give it 2 quick shakes. That's not quite what the foam looked like. It was more foamy and it had the color of the fruit that it's resting in, integrated with the foam. So the foam went from like this rich, like I said, strawberry red wine color to the color you see on top of that white foam right there. And it was more thick too. Now the foam and the bubbles are starting to thin out. And you let it settle and sit, and you get this little teeny tiny ring of bubbles around the edge. That's what we're looking for with the mead. I'm going to stick it back in there on the top shelf. 1 second. There's the fresh container that we'll clean with hot water and yes. The nice thing about that 1118 yeast is it's like I said, it's got a low pressure point. Unlike the instant yeast that I've been using, it'll make a stronger alcohol, a stronger mead, and because of that low pressure point, which you can see the balloon's not very inflated, you don't gotta burp it nearly as much. But using a balloon or like one of those Amazon linked airlocks, whatever, works. I like using the balloons though, it's simpler. But yeah, once that balloon deflates by itself and the bubbles stop forming, we're going to bottle it. What do you cool cobras think of that mead? That is some gorgeous looking stuff, man. I had those bubbles around the edge when I pulled it out earlier to shake it and give it a review on how it's looking. Then I stuck it back in here just like that, and I messed up on the audio, so I had to redo the video. Then I shook it a second time and it didn't quite form the same foam, but that's all right, tubes. That's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Cheers. Not sure how long I'm going to age it for, because there are some articles on YouTube that say like 2 to 3 days it'll be done. But I want to let it go until that balloon no longer inflates by itself and then bubbles dissipate. And then when that happens, we'll give it like 4 to 5 days and then we'll bottle it up. But there you go.